Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so today we shall be starting with the fourth chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. We'll be discussing texts 1 to 4 today. Vyasa vacha iti bhruvanam samstutya muninam diga satrinam vriddhakulapati sutam bhavrucha shaunako bhravet. Vyasadev said, on hearing Sutta Goswami speak thus, Shaunaka Muni, who was the elderly, learned leader of all the rishis engaged in that prolonged sacrificial ceremony, congratulated Sutta Goswami by addressing him as follows. So, Sutta Goswami is being praised. Can everyone hear me?
Prabhuji, your voice is breaking.
Okay. Hear me?
Yeah, but it's echo, Prabhuji, background sound.
Okay. Now it's okay?
Yeah, seems to. Let's see.
Yeah. So, here, the qualification of a person who can congratulate another learned man in a meeting is being explained by Srila Prabhupada. That a person must be the leader of the house or an elderly man, and he must be vastly learned. Mahabharata actually gives definition of who is elder or senior person. Many times in our ISKCON society also it happens that people are very much obsessed with the feeling of who is senior. So Mahabharata gives the definition of senior or a truly elderly person. So it says one should not attend a meeting or should not go to a gathering where there is no senior or a elderly person. And who is a senior or elderly person? One who always speaks truth. And what is truth? The words which are spoken in accordance with scriptures, that is considered truth. So in other words, until a person is learned in the scriptures, should not be treated as elderly. Because there are trees also. Bhagavatam says, Sarvakhyamna Jivanti. There are trees who are very, very elderly, especially if you go to here in the Northern California, we have a lot of trees which are thousands of years old. Especially if you go to outskirts of San Francisco, there is a park. It's called Muir Woods Park. And in that there are trees which are thousands of years old. So they are very senior, probably senior most senior most in this planet or in this part of the world. So that is not the qualification. The real qualification, a person should be learned in the scriptures. So Sri Shaunaka had all these qualifications, and therefore he stood up to congratulate Shuddha Goswami, and where he expressed the desire to present Srimad Bhagavatam exactly as he had heard from his guru, Srila Shukadeva Goswami, and also coupled with his own realizations. Because Srimad Bhagavatam is not simply parrot-like repetition. It is to be presented as per time, place, and circumstances. So, therefore, Shaunaka Rishi is praising. He's getting up and start praising the Sutta Goswami. And personal realization. When you say that it should be presented as it heard from a guru with personal realization, that doesn't mean that one should, out of pride, attempt to show the one's own scholarship or learning by trying to surpass the previous acharyas. That's a very arrogant or inappropriate behavior. Realization does not mean to disregard the previous authorities or previous acharyas. In pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, there is a very beautiful instance. There was one devotee, Vallabh Bhatt. He was one of the associates of Lord Chaitanya, very dear to Lord Chaitanya also, and he had a very loving relationship with Lord Chaitanya. But one time he developed some pride, and Lord Chaitanya doesn't like the pride in his devotees. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was constantly crushing his pride. One time he came to the devotees in the presence of Lord Chaitanya, and he told the devotees, what kind of Vaishnavas you are? And the presence of Lord Chaitanya, he is criticizing the devotees. What kind of Vaishnavas you are? You call yourself Vaishnava. Vaishnavas are like, they have Krishna as their husband, and they are like the wife. So it's a duty of wife not to utter the name of the husband. Especially in Vedic culture, the wife never utters the name of the husband. Of course, nowadays nobody really follows that. But it says that if the wife utters the names of the husband, that reduces the lifespan of the husband. So in Vedic culture, you'll never find a woman generally uttering the husband's name. I mean, at least I saw in my own family, my mother never uttered the name of my father. Similarly, even my elder brother's wives, they never took the name of their husband. So, but nowadays, of course, nobody really follows this system. So, Venkat, Vallabh Bhatt, he was actually criticizing Vaishnavas, that saying, you people are chanting Hare Krishna. It is not appropriate because you are uttering the name of your husband. Krishna is the husband and we all are like his wives. So Advaita Acharya, he told Vallabh Bhatt that, why don't you ask this question to Lord Chaitanya, who's sitting right here? He's the epitome of all the etiquettes. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard the statement of Advaita Acharya, he immediately responded to Vallabh Bhatt saying, the first and foremost duty of a wife is to obey the order of the husband. And Krishna's order is, for this age of Kali Yuga, to incessantly, constantly chant his holy name. So Vallabh Bhatt was a little bit ashamed. But still, he didn't give up the pride. And the time he came to Lord Chaitanya, he said, my dear Lord, I have written a commentary on the holy names of Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya said, I'm not really interested in hearing any commentaries. Uh, you know, I know only Krishna's two names. Krishna as Shamasundar, and he has a blackish complexion like a tamal tree. And Krishna is son of Mother Yashoda. So Shamasundar and Yashodanandan, these are the only two names I know about Krishna. So Vallabhat, again he was humiliated because Lord Chaitanya refused to hear any of his explanation. So none of the Vaishnavas wanted to hear his explanation. Finally, another time he came to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he told Lord Chaitanya, I have written a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, wherein I have not accepted one of the previous acharyas, very prominent acharya called Sridhar Swami. He told Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sridhar Swami's commentaries are irrelevant. They cannot be applicable in modern times. So I have not accepted his commentary. But I have written a commentary which is better than Sridhar Swami's commentary. So Lord Chaitanya became very grave. And he told Vallabhat that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, a woman who does not accept Swami, I regard her as prostitute. So Swami in Sanskrit also means husband. So in Vedic culture, woman would call the husband as Swami. So a woman who rejects the husband, Lord Chaitanya said, that woman is regarded as prostitute. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was indicating to Vallabhat that Swami also refers to Sridhar Swami, the original commentator on Srimad Bhagavatam. So he said, since you do not accept Sridhar Swami's commentary, I regard your commentary as useless. You are unchaste, you are unloyal to the parampara. So Vallabhat was very much ashamed. So the whole idea is one should not try to surpass the previous acharyas, thinking oneself to be superior or better than the previous acharyas. One should never consider himself better than anyone. One should always present the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam in a very meek and humble set of mind. So these are some of the qualifications. And so such a person who's presenting Srimad Bhagavatam should have full confidence, faith and loyalty in the previous acharyas. But at the same time, he must be, he must realize the subject matter in such a wonderful and nice way that he can present the matter according to time, place, and circumstances, so that people can become receptive to that knowledge. So these are some of the things a person should keep in mind. The original purpose of the text must be maintained. So yes, like we have been discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, we take a verse and then we discuss so many examples and different things from the verse. But the original purpose of the text must be maintained. Not that we deviate away from the very purpose or the original intention of that verse was explained. Like, one time one devotee, he came to, Srila Prabhupada, and he said, Prabhupada, he was distributing books, in South India. So he said, Prabhupada, I was distributing books in South India, and I came across one very influential person, chief minister of one of the states in South India. And I gave him Ishopanishad book, and he was so upset. He said, your Swamiji, your founder of ISKCON society, is obsessed with Krishna. Said, in Bhagavad Gita, throughout Bhagavad Gita, he says Krishna, 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 Krishna everywhere. That I understand. But in Ishopanishad, there is no mention of anywhere in any of the verses about Krishna. But even in Ishopanishad, he mentions everywhere Krishna, Krishna. So Prabhupada was so happy. And Prabhupada mentioned that, yes, these people, Prabhupada gave the example, he said, the President of India, he wrote a commentary on Bhagavad Gita, and where Krishna says very clearly, Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. Aham tvam sarva pape bhimokshashami masacha. Just abandon all varieties of religion and surrender unto me. I shall protect you from all the sinful reactions. Do not fear. Krishna says very clearly, surrender unto me. So Prabhupada said, this person, he had written a commentary, and he mentioned that where Krishna is saying, surrender unto me, he says it's not unto Krishna, but unborn within Krishna. The unborn spirit that is dwelling within Krishna, we have to surrender unto. He says, so see, Krishna is very clearly saying, surrender unto me, but he's trying to hide Krishna there. Where Krishna is so prominently and clearly visible, their business is to simply hide Krishna. And Prabhupada said, I have come to this world to unhide Krishna. Even in the most hidden places in the Veda where Krishna is hidden, my job is to reveal Krishna to everyone. Because that's the original purpose of all the Vedic texts. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita very clearly, Vedesha sarvair, sarvair, all the Vedas Krishna says, Vedesha sarvair aham eva vedyu. From all the Vedas, I am to be known. That's the original purpose of the Vedas. So, the original purpose of the text must be maintained. No obscure meaning. One should try to screw out the obscure meaning from it. And yet, present the matter in an interesting manner so that people can understand. This is called realization. So, no learned man should be willing to hear a person who does not present the original Acharya. We should not be, in fact, Chaitanya Bhagavat says, one should refuse to hear even Lord Brahma if he was to come and speak something other than the conclusion of the scriptures. Even if tomorrow Brahma comes and speaks some nonsense, one should reject it. Should not think, oh, here is Brahma, or the founder Acharya of our Sampradaya. We should hear him. No, one should reject him because he's not the Acharya if he's not presenting the teachings of Vedas, the original teachings of the Vedas. So speaker and audience, they have to be bona fide. So where Bhagavatam was being recited for the second time, there the speaker was Suta Goswami, who was bona fide, who had heard it from Shukdev Goswami, and he was speaking to the sages of Naimisharanya. So Bhagavatam was recited by Shukdev Goswami to King Parikshit, where Suta Goswami also heard it, and then Suta Goswami repeated it to the sages of Naimisharanya. Text 2. Shaunaka Uvacham Suta Suta Mahabhagam Vadana Vadatam Vara Katham Bhagavatim Punyam Yadaha Bhagavan Chuku Yadaha Bhagavan Shuka. Shaunaka said, O Suta Goswami, you are the most fortunate and respected of all those who can speak and recite. Please relate the pious message of Srimad Bhagavatam, which was spoken by the great and powerful sage, Shukdev Goswami. So here we see Suta Goswami, Shaunak Rishi is representing the whole assembly of the sages who are all eager to hear the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. And they all knew that this Srimad Bhagavatam was originally spoken by Shukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj. So they were not interested in hearing from some professional reciter or some bogus person who could give all kinds of interpretations to the original text. Unfortunately, in Kali Yuga, this is the atmosphere is saturated with so much garbage in the form of books. People, even in the name of religion, take the books like Bhagavad Gita and try to give commentaries which has nothing to do with the original text. So that's actually an unfortunate condition of people in Kali Yuga. In other ages, not anyone or everyone could pick up Bhagavad Gita and write commentary on. Only a person who has studied under the guidance of a bona fide guru could present Bhagavad Gita to others or could write commentary on Bhagavad Gita. Nowadays, you see, a movie star or a sports star, especially in India, any famous person picks up Bhagavad Gita and starts writing commentary. Even during British time, freedom fighters were writing Bhagavad Gita. Mahatma Gandhi wrote commentary on Bhagavad Gita. He didn't even believe that Krishna existed, and he wrote commentary on Bhagavad Gita. So when we read such commentaries, they have no practically or absolutely no benefit to people who are reading. So we have to hear Bhagavatam from a bona fide person. In general, the so-called speakers on Bhagavatam, they recite for the professional purpose. That means they are paid money for reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. Or many times the impersonalist or Mayavadis, they try to speak from Srimad Bhagavatam. So both these categories people, they generally twist some meaning out of Bhagavatam to suit their own, purpose. Professional readers, they simply want to entertain people in general. So they will go to some section of Bhagavatam which is entertaining to people. Until they won't care to present Bhagavatam as it was presented by Shukadeva Goswami or Sutta Goswami. So anyone who is prepared to present Bhagavatam, just as Shukadeva Goswami did, and those who are prepared to hear, just like the audience heard Shukadeva Goswami, that is a proper assembly where Srimad Bhagavatam can be discussed. Text 3 and 4. Kasmin yuge pravritteyam sthanavakena hetuna kuta sanchodita Krishna kritvan samhita muni tasya putro mahayogi samadrin nirvikalpaka ekanta matir unnidro gudho mudha iveyate. In what period and at what place was this first begun, and why was this taken up? From where did Krishna Dvaipayan Vyas, the great sage, get the inspiration to compile this literature? That is Vyasdev's son, was a great devotee and an equibalanced monist whose mind was always concentrated in monism. He was transcendental to mundane activities, but being unexposed, he appeared like an ignorant person. So here the two questions are being put forward. One is why, where, how the Srimad Bhagavatam was compiled. Where did even Vyasadeva got inspiration from to compile this? So, and how is it that Shukdev Goswami ended up in speaking to Parikshit Maharaj? So these are the questions being put forward. Srila Prabhupada actually highlights on Shukdev Goswami, because Shukdev Goswami is mentioned as a liberated soul, monist. So Shukdev Goswami, he remained always alert not to be trapped by illusory energy. It is said Shukdev Goswami was alert even in the womb of his mother. In fact, Shukdev Goswami refused to come out of the womb of his mother. Now, it may sound a little strange. Children, they are born by the force. They have no choice when they should be born. Nowadays, no child can say, okay, I will stay in the womb of mother for a few more years or few more months or even few more hours. When there's a mature time, the appropriate force develops. The water bag bursts in the womb of the mother and the child is pushed out by the airs within the body of the mother. The child has no independence. Child cannot decide when I should be born. But Shukdev Goswami, being a liberated soul, he had full independence. If he didn't want it to come out of the womb of his mother, nobody could force him. So he remained in the womb of his mother for 16 full years. He did not come out of the womb of mother for 16 years. And ordinarily, it would really scare anyone, but Vyasadeva was not an ordinary person either. So his wife was also not an ordinary lady. But when the 16 years gone by, still the child has no willingness to come out. And Vyasadeva actually inquired from him why he doesn't want to come out. He said because he was afraid that as soon as he came out of the womb, material energy will again entrap him. So he refused to come out. So Vyasadeva had to go to Krishna in Dwarka and he told Krishna, my son is afraid of coming out of the womb of his mother because he's afraid that material energy, your Maya Shakti, will actually trap him. So please come and assure him. So Krishna came with Vyasadeva to Badrikashram where his wife was living in the hermitage. And there Krishna went and spoke to the child in the womb. In this way, when Krishna gave assurance to Shukdev Goswami that he will never be trapped by Krishna's illusory energy, then only the child came out of the womb. And as soon as he came out, he started walking away from his parents. He didn't care to, embrace his parents or be nurtured by the parents. He simply started walking away because he was already in the womb of mother for 16 years, so he was grown up. So as soon as the umbilical cord was cut, he started walking away. And Vyasadeva had to run behind him. Hey, I haven't done the Jata Karma for you. I have to do some samskaras for you. Please stay. But Shukdev Goswami was such a transcendental person. He didn't care. He simply walked away. So he was always careful not to be trapped by Krishna's illusory energy. This alertness in Bhagavad Gita is actually explained. That the liberated souls and the conditioned souls, they have different kinds of engagement. Ya nisha sarva bhutana tasyam jagrata sanyami. Says what is night for people in general, and alert sage is fully awake in that time. He's fully alert. Sorry. So the liberated person is always engaged in these spiritual activities to attain the perfection of life, which is like the dream for the conditioned souls. People in general think, when you talk about going back to the Vaikuntha, going back to the spiritual world, they cannot relate to it. They don't really understand anything about it. So in this way, what is day for the conditioned soul is night for the sage or introspective sage, and what is day for the introspective sage is night for ordinary people. In other words, they do not have interest, common interest. The conditioned living entities, they dream about spiritual engagement. Or in other words, they actually are completely not interested in the spiritual activities. But the liberated souls, they are very much awake in that situation. And another thing is, a conditioned soul and liberated soul may be apparently, on the same platform. That means they both might be having family, they both might be having jobs, they both might be, doing practically similar activities on daily basis. But their attention or their interest is completely different or opposite. For a conditioned soul, the purpose is to always be looking for sense enjoyment. All their activities are geared towards sense enjoyment. Whereas a liberated soul or a person who is on the path of perfecting his life, all his activities are geared toward perfecting or attaining perfection in Krishna consciousness. So conditioned soul is absorbed in matter, liberated soul is absorbed in spiritual substance. So this is the sum and substance of these 4 verses. I think we will stop here. If anyone has any